What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and today we are going to be showcasing all of the Void primary weapons in Destiny and ranking them from worst to best. Last week, the Nightfall featured Void Burn, so I took all 5 of these weapons into the Nightfall, played with all of them with Void Burn active so you can really see how they behave. And we're using that information to again rank them. Now yes, this video maybe should have come out a little bit earlier, but it kind of got put on the back burner in favor of other videos. So for that, I apologize. But let's get started by introducing our contestants. Firstly, from Crota's end, we have the Word of Crota. It's a fast-firing archetype of hand cannon. Moving on from there to the Vault of Glass, we have the Atheon's Epilogue. This is a high rate of fire auto rifle. After that, moving on to King's Fall, we have 2 void weapons. The first one is the Zaouli's Bane hand cannon, a fast-firing hand cannon, and then we have the Doom of Chelchis scout rifle, which is in the medium rate of fire archetype for scout rifles. And lastly, from the Wrath of the Machine, we have the Steel Medulla pulse rifle, a medium rate of fire Haka 4-round burst pulse rifle. So, let's start at the bottom with number 5, the worst of these weapons. It is, and I'm sure this won't surprise some of you, the Zaouli's Bane hand cannon. This weapon just doesn't have a lot of things going for it, and in fact, it has a lot of negative things. Firstly, although it is a fast-firing hand cannon, which can be fine, it doesn't have any of the good hand cannon perks for PvE. It doesn't have explosive rounds, which is a huge downside. Like every good PvE hand cannon really in Destiny, you're really trying to get explosive rounds. The fact that this doesn't have it is definitely a big downside. It doesn't have Firefly either, so it isn't able to spread around its damage. It's only able to kill one enemy at a time, and even when you do kill one enemy at a time, which it is okay at doing, it can one-shot, most of the normal tier enemies, it has a tremendously long reload. Like, the reload for the Zaouli's Bane is well known throughout Destiny as being just terrible. It's almost comical if it doesn't actually get you killed when you're trying to use this weapon. So the Zaouli's Bane just has not enough going for it and quite a few big downsides, and therefore it is clearly at the bottom of the ladder in 5th place. However, moving on, quite frankly, all 4 of the next slots are kind of close together. Like, if you're imagining a spectrum, the Zaouli's Bane is like way at the bottom. We're talking like trash tier, just absolutely bottom of the barrel. And then up, way higher you have 4, 3, 2, 1, all pretty close to each other. Like, the top 4 are all kind of competing with each other because they're all actually quite decent. In the 4th place, we do have the Word of Crota hand cannon. Now, this was actually a good little hand cannon to use. Like, I actually found this very effective, but we'll talk about why, it didn't rank higher. This weapon does have explosive rounds. Of course, very important, as I said earlier, for a hand cannon. Like, having that explosive rounds, having a relatively high rate of fire, you are able to munch through enemies. Like, it's really fantastic. And also, you get the Proto triple tap perk. You actually get kind of a version of that, where if you get 3 rapid precision shots, you get 1 shot back. So if you're shooting a boss, or if you're shooting, a Cabal tank or something like that, you can very easily get a bunch of precision shots and be getting those rounds back into the magazine, which can very much help your DPS. The problem with this hand cannon, however, is that it is quite good up close and even can be extended in medium ranges, but it's just not very good at those medium to long range engagements. It has an incredibly low range that is kind of helped by explosive rounds, but it's just going to have a lot of trouble taking out enemies at long ranges away, which if you're doing certain Nightfalls, and depending on your skill level, you're not going to be wanting to run out and engage all enemies balls to the wall right in front of you, like just hand cannon them right in front of the face. You're not going to want that. You're going to want to kind of stick a little bit backwards, and therefore the Word of Crota isn't very good at that, and that's why it ranks 4th. However, kind of the opposite, we have in number 3, the Doom of Chelchis scout rifle. This scout rifle is just solid. It's a medium rate of fire scout rifle falling into the same damage archetype as the Vision of Confluence from Vault of Glass. That gun is just a million times better than the Word of Crota. Luckily for the Word of Crota, the vision is solar burn, so the word can kind of exist in its own bubble, and the word is still solid. It has overall decent stats, like it doesn't have that amazing stability, I'm not gonna lie, but it does have full auto, it has a decent range, it has like an okay reload, it's just completely unoffensive. And when you have a fully automatic unoffensive scout rifle, you can do what is the opposite of the Word of Crota and really sit in the back or sit even medium range and just plow through enemies. Pick them off one by one. Boom, 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 boom. 4 enemies dead. Like, it's just so easy to just double tap, you know, the higher tier enemies and single tap. You can one-shot headshot acolytes and thralls and all of the lower tier enemies. And therefore, with, again, even if you're using small board as a 17 round magazine, which is nothing to scoff at, it's just a very usable gun. However, why it ranks 3rd and not potentially higher is because it kind of does struggle up close. Now, because of full auto, it's going to be a lot better up close than a lot of other scout rifles. But when you are put into those, you know, arenas like the brothers that you're seeing in this Nightfall strike, or in many other of the closer range boss fight arenas, you are going to have to deal with those enemies close range. And even though, yes, this can hip fire down a lot of enemies, it's not going to be something you want to be doing. So that's why it ranks 3rd. Moving on, we have rank number 2. Now this may be surprising, but it is the Atheon's Epilogue. I think a lot of people were expecting this gun to rank a little bit lower, down in the 4th or even 3rd slot, but I was blown away by the performance of the Atheon's Epilogue. Like, when I used it in this Nightfall, oh my gosh, I could not believe it. The Word of Crota hand cannon was very good up close. The Atheon's Epilogue is probably twice as good in those close ranges. It is just so efficient and effective. And the reason being is just because it puts out so much damage. It doesn't have explosive rounds, it doesn't have Firefly, it doesn't have anything that's supposed to just let this weapon spread around its damage, but it is relatively controllable. You can get multiple shots on an enemy at medium range with no problem. It does spawn with persistence, which is going to help you do that. And again, even though it doesn't have something like explosive rounds or Firefly that spreads around the damage, it can just go from one enemy to the next enemy, to the next enemy, to the next enemy, and then it has to reload. It has a 60 round magazine, so you were able to just pump out damage. And again, the way this gun is and the way it delivers damage makes it so that every single enemy you engage, every single one, is flinching for the entirety of the engagement. Like, once you start shooting an enemy, they do not shoot you back, unless, of course, Berserk is on or something like that. But they are just flinching, 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 and dead. Like, you do not get shot by any of the enemies you're shooting at, which is insanely powerful. The Atheon's Epilogue is an absolute blast to use and is very effective in close and even out to medium range engagements. I'd say it can potentially be a little bit more effective at medium range than the Word of Crota. Now again, if you are maybe a newer player or a player who doesn't really like to run into the fights and play aggressively, you may prefer something like the Doom of Chelchis, but I really urge you guys to take this into a Void Burn playlist. It is so much fun and does so much damage. But moving on, that means that top slot number 1 belongs to, yes, I'm sure you guys know it's coming, the Steel Medulla Pulse Rifle. This Pulse Rifle is just so good. You know, with the other weapons, we actually ended up listing downsides. The Steel Medulla basically has none. It's a fully automatic pulse rifle, and because it's the Haka pulse rifle and it shoots 4 rounds a burst, it's able to one burst a lot of enemies. Like, just one burst, especially if you're throwing in headshots, one burst just so many different enemies in the game. So, fully automatic pulse rifle, great stability. It's very good against normal tier ads. You can just blah, 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 I know you guys are liking my sound effects this video, but again, it's just so easy to use and easy to take out those normal tier enemies. But not only that, it's also more effective than usual against higher tier enemies because of that Sign of 4 perk it spawns with. Now what that perk does is that when you get the 4th burst on an enemy, it's going to deal bonus damage. I tested it in an earlier video way back when, and it was around 33% bonus damage. But a 33% increase, which is then doubled with the Void Burn, is a lot of damage. Like, you're getting basically a free burst, or half a free burst, out of that bonus damage. And that's nothing to scoff at. So when you are fighting bosses, or what's mostly going to come up, shielded or higher tier enemies, Vex Minotaurs or Praetorians, Reaver Captains, anything like that, you're going to be getting that Sign of 4 perk activating pretty much every time, and that's going to give you more damage than usual. So that's very, very effective. So it's good against groups of lower tier enemies at medium and even close range because it's fully automatic and has fantastic stats. And then it's also good out to those longer ranges. It's a very accurate scout rifle, so you can burst fire from across the map and still be doing decent damage. And it's better against higher tier enemies than normal because of the Sign of 4 perk. As you can see, this weapon is all upside. It's not as fun to use as Atheon's Epilogue, I will admit, but it is incredibly, incredibly effective, and I think the best Void primary weapon in Destiny. If you want to do as best as you can in a Void Burn playlist, the Steel Medulla is your #1 choice. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. It really does help me out. Now, if you guys want to see more Destiny content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.